Vaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Avyaktoyam achintyoyam avikaryoyam yamuchyate tasmadevam viditvainam nanu sochitamarhasi.
It is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, and immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body.
Atachenam nityajatam nityam vamanyase mritam tatapi tvam mahabaho nenam sochitamarhasi.
One who is taken his birth is sure to die, and after death one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament.
Avyaktadini bhutani vyakta madhyani bharata avyaktani dhanani eva tatra ka paradevana.
All created beings are unmanifest in the beginning, manifest in the interim state, and unmanifest again when annihilated. So what need is there for lamentation?
Ascharyavat pashyati kaschidinam acharyavat vadati tateva chanya ascharyavan chainamanya shnoti shrutvapi enam vedana chaiva kaschit.
Some look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, and some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all.
Dehi nityam avadyoyam dehe sarvasya bharata tasmat sarvani bhutani natam sochitamarasi.
O descendant of Bharata, you who dwells in the body can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any.
Swadharmam apichavekshya nachikampetumarasi dharmyadi yudhyacheyonyat kshatriyasya navidyate.
Consider your specific duty as a Kshatriya. Considering your specific duty as a Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement to use than fighting on religious principles, and so there is no need for hesitation.
Yadrachaya chopapanam sargadara apavritam sukhina kshatriya parta labante yudamidrisham.
O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom with such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets.
Atachetvam imam dharmyam sangramam na karishyasi tata sadharmam kritam cha hitva papam avapsyasi.
If, however, you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter.
Akritim chapi bhutani katyashriyanti te vyayam sambhavitasya chakritir maranada atyaryichaya.
People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. Dishonor is worse than death.
Bhayadranad uparatam mamshante tam maharata yesham chatam bhatumato bhutva yashyasi lagavam.
The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant.
Avatyavadam strabahun vadishyanti tavahitaha nindantasta samartyam tato dukataram nukim.
Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful to you?
Hato va prapsyasi swargam jitva
Cái không phải là chưa bà boleh sih jo. Nana baba boleh sih.
Hato va prapsyasi swargam jitva va bhoksyase mahim tasvat uttisha kunteya yudaya kritanishchaya.
O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up with determination and fight.
Sukha dukhe same kritva labha labho jayayo.
Bringing it down, just a sec.
Okay. Sukha dukhe same kritva labha labho jayo tato yudaya yasva nevam papam avapsyasi.
Do thou fight for the sake of fighting without considering happiness or distress, lose or gain victory or defeat, and by so doing you shall never incur sin.
Esha tabhita sankhe buddhir yoge imam shanu buddhya yukto yeya partha karma bandham prahasyasi.
Thus far, I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. Now listen as I explain this in terms of working without fruitive results. O son of Pritha, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works.
Neha vikrama na shosti patvayo na vidyate swapamapyasya dharmasya tate mahato vyaya.
In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear.
Vyavashyatmika buddhe ekaha kurnandana bahusakayi anantascha buddhayo vyavashayinam.
Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched.
Yamimam pushpitam vacham pravadanti avipashchitaha vedavadarata partha nanyad astiti vadinaha.
Read the other one also, Shriram.
Oh, sorry. Kamatmana sargapara janma karma palapradam kriya vishesha bahulam bhogeshwarya gatim prati.
Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevations on heavenly planets, resulting in good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this.
Bhogeshwarya prashaktanam tyaprita chetaya parita chetasam vyavashyatmika buddhi samadona vidhiyate.
In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place.
Trigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunyo Bavarjana Niranvo Nitya Satpasto Niryoga Shema Atmavan.
The Vedas deal mainly with the subjects of the three modes of material nature, avajana. Become transcendental to these three modes, be free from all duality, from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self.
Yavanartha Udapane Sarvata Sampalotodake Tavan Sarveshu Vedeshu Brahmanasya Vijanataha.
All purposes served by a small well cannot once be served by a reservoir of water, Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served by one who knows the purpose behind it.
कर्माणि एवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भुर्मा ते सङ्गोऽस्तु कर्मणि.
Sorry, what verse are we on?
Yeah, 47.
Okay, thank you. You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty.
योगस्था कुरु कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा धनञ्जय सिद्धिया सिद्ध्यसमो भूत्वा सामर्थ्यं योग उच्यते.
Perform your duty equipoised, O Arjuna, abandoning all attachment to success or failure. Such equanimity is called yoga.
दूरेण ह्यवरं कर्म बुद्धियोगात् धनञ्जय बुद्धो सारानमन्विच्य कर्पणफलहेतवः.
O Dhananjaya, keep all abominable activities far distant by devotional service, and in that consciousness surrender unto the Lord. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their work are miserless.
Okay.
What verse are we on again? बुद्धियुक्तो जहातीह उभय सुकृत दुष्कृते तस्मन् योगाय युज्यस्व योग कर्मसु कौशलम्.
A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad recitations even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all work.
कर्मजं बुद्धियुक्ता हि फलं त्यक्त्वा निशिनः
I think
तारगन्ता.
up to 50, right? We have to read up to 50.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for your enthusiasm, Sridham and Yash. Thank you very much for taking us through the beautiful Devanagari script as well as the English translations to both Sridham Prabhu as well as Yash Prabhu ki jai. Haribo.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Jai, jai, jai. Okay. So today's verse, let's go to that verse quickly. Okay, yesterday we did this verse. Eshate abhihita sankhe buddhir yoge ta imam shunu buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prihasyasi. And so we had a wonderful discussion yesterday on this verse. And today it's a one-liner translation. I think Prabhupada had explained so much in yesterday's verse. So we'll just read the verse translation and the purport. For that, I'll have to bring in the advanced view and then we go to the purport. Default view, advanced view, translation. We need everything now. That's the one, the purport is there. I'll just read the verse 40 now. Neha bhikramanashosti pratyavayo navidyate. Neha bhikramanashosti pratyavayo navidyate. Swalpam api asya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Neha bhikramanaśo asti pratyavayo navidyate swalpam apiyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Now, there is not, iha in this yoga, abhikrama in endeavoring, nasha loss, asti there is, pratyavayaha diminution, na never, vidyate there is, swalpam a little, api although, as of this, dharmasya occupation, Trayate releases Mehta from variegate Bhayat, danger. Translation. In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution. And a little advancement on this path can protect one on the most dangerous type of fear. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Activity in Krishna consciousness, or acting for the benefit of Krishna without expectation of sense gratification, is the highest transcendental quality of work. Even a small beginning of such activity finds no impediment, nor can that small beginning be lost at any stage. Any work begun on the material plane has to be completed. Otherwise, the whole attempt becomes a failure. But any work begun in Krishna consciousness has a permanent effect. Sorry, I'm trying to mute. There are some sounds coming from the background, so I'm muting everybody else. Thank you. Any work begun on the material plane has to be completed, otherwise the whole attempt becomes a failure. But any work begun in Krishna consciousness has a permanent effect, even though not finished. The performer of such work is therefore not at loss, even if his work in Krishna consciousness is incomplete. 1% done in Krishna consciousness bears permanent results, so that the next beginning is from the point of 2%. Whereas in material activity, without 100% success, there is no profit. Ajamil performed his duty in some percentage of Krishna consciousness, but the result he enjoyed at the end was 100%, by the grace of the Lord. There is a nice verse in this connection in Srimad Bhagavatam. Tyaktva swadharmam charnam bhujam harer bhajan apakvathapate tato yadi yatra kwa va bhadram agudamushyakim kovartha apto abhajatam swadharmataha. If someone gives up his occupational duties and work in Krishna consciousness and then falls down on account of not completing his work, what loss is there on his part? And what can one gain if one performs his material activities perfectly? Or, as the Christian says, what profit take a man if he gain the whole world but suffer the loss of his eternal soul? Material activities and their results end with the body. But work in Krishna consciousness carries a person again to Krishna consciousness, even after the loss of the body. At least, one is sure to have a chance in the next life of being born again as a human being, either in the family of a great cultured Brahmin or in a rich aristocratic family. That'll give one a further chance for elevation. That is the unique quality of work done in Krishna consciousness. I'll read the verse again. Neha bhikraman nashasti pratyavao navidyate swalpam api asya dharmasya trayate mahate bhayat. Om agyanam timirandasya Gyananjana shalakaya chakshurun militam yena tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya manobhishtam stapitam yena bhutale swayam rupa kadamayam dadati swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha. Shri Rupam Sagrachatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitam Tam Gana Shri Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishvanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvaivacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this verse, chapter 2, verse number 40, Trayato Mehato Bhayat. We have heard this verse from Srila Prabhupada's Lotus Mark many times during his lectures. He often quotes this, Trayato Mehato Bhayat. He says this line in particular, Trayate Mehato Bhayat. Releases from very great danger. What is it that releases from very great danger? Swalpam asi asya dharmasya. Even a little endeavor in the process of Krishna consciousness. That Trayate Mehatobhayat releases one from the greatest dangers. So the main focus of this verse is a differentiation between the temporary and which is illusory and the permanent. Any activity Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport, which are not in Krishna consciousness, are therefore material activities. And the result of the material activities is that you put 100% effort and then you get some result, and that is also very, very temporary. So when we are at our jobs, our remunerations, and any sort of appraisals that we get at offices are basically based upon our endeavors. If we did 100% target, we get some remuneration. If we get 90% target, we don't get that particular appraisal. And if we do a little bit more, maybe we get another 1% or 2% raise in our salaries. This is how it works. In material world, if I don't put my entire effort, and even if I put my entire effort, I will get certain result, which is temporary and not permanent. And Prabhupada is saying that in the spiritual life, it is very different. In the spiritual life, it does not work like material calculations. He's saying that in a spiritual life, if you make little endeavor, that is permanent. And that is the difference. When you look from a distance, these two people are doing the same work. Somebody who's doing material activity and somebody who's doing the spiritual activity. For example, cooking food. If somebody is cooking food, they are offering it to Krishna, then that becomes a spiritual activity. Now, within cooking food, if somebody has shopped for cooking food, and then that is also a spiritual activity because that is done in intention to please Krishna. Now, if somebody has shopped for cooking for Krishna, then that money which is used in shopping that material, food stuff that is bought lovingly for Krishna becomes a spiritual activity. Then the person who is earning that money, his activities, his karma is getting purified. So because that money is used to buy the foodstuffs for cooking for Sri Krishna. So his karma is getting purified. Therefore, his karma phalam is getting purified. His endeavors, which are resulting into certain results, are getting purified. So what does it mean that karma is getting purified? It simply means that he's not accruing any reaction to that activity. Krishna specifically mentions those who are eating food without offering to me are invariably eating sin. Just one activity of Krishna consciousness, and you can see what is a chain of implication. If I eat food without offering to Krishna, or if I eat food in the outside of Krishna consciousness environment prepared by those who are selling it for commercial reasons and not for pleasing Krishna, then that food is not accruing any kind of benefit. In fact, it is said that it is only going to accrue sinful reactions. Whereas if I cook for Krishna, then that particular activity, including all the activities preceding to that activity and all the endeavors resulting into that particular activity, becomes Krishna conscious, and that goes and adds to the bank balance of our spiritual life. Krishna takes into account that. Even the flowers. One time, Srila Prabhupada was asked by one of his disciples that, Prabhupada, what happens to the trees from which you are plucking these flowers? And Prabhupada says, they get human life as the next birth. The plants of which we take flowers and offer to the lotus feet of Sri Radha and Krishna gets the opportunity to become human beings in their next life. Can we imagine the amount of benefit that particular activity is giving to everybody, is giving pleasure to Krishna? The devotees are getting purified in the process of offering that love to Krishna through the flowers. And Krishna is mentioning Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhakta Prayakshati. So anybody who's offering me Patram Pushpam Phalam and Toyam, milk, water, flowers, foods, vegetables, all the kind of products that we can make around these ingredients, it's all offering. And that plant and that animal, all of them are getting benefit by getting a chance to bring the success to their own human life, to bring the success to their existence. We have seen the examples in Srila Prabhupada movement that when he came to the West, how so many Westerners who had not heard about Krishna came closer to Srila Prabhupada and started serve Prabhupada and his movement. And in terms of advancement, within few days, within few months, they were doing things that nobody could imagine. Nobody could imagine. And they were completely transformed. They have joined and they have become temple president. They have joined and they are becoming translating Prabhupada's, they're typing Prabhupada's books and ensuring that the books are getting published. They're distributing books of Srila Prabhupada and started to learn cooking for Shradam and cooking big feast for everybody. How was this happening? So not that they have just come. Srila Prabhupada mentioned that they were sent by his Guru Maharaj. They were sent by his Guru Maharaj. All these devotees, all these sannyasis and Guru Maharaj of today's in ISKCON, they are all sent by Guru Maharaj of Srila Prabhupada. That's how he acknowledged it, which means that they were already advanced devotees and they were just playing certain role. They were plotted in the material world, and as soon as the opportunity arise, they started to play their role. So we can see there how Krishna consciousness advancement can manifest in so many forms. Some devotees just come into the movement and we see that they just are reached at a certain level within no time, which means they were at that level when they left their previous Krishna consciousness activities, and therefore they can pick it up from that place. So we can see that how Srila Prabhupada is trying to differentiate these 2 points, that Krishna consciousness is eternal and the material life, it is so difficult actually, because you don't accrue anything. Nothing is accrued. And he gives the example of Ajamal, saying that when he has worshipped Krishna, and at the time when he slipped from the path of Krishna consciousness, right at the end of his life, when he remembered Krishna, because of his piety, because of his previous activities, and because of the mercy of the holy name, he was saved. And that example Prabhupada gives, that look, nothing goes waste in Krishna consciousness. Sometimes parents tell their children, study everything. There's nothing that'll go waste. It will all come handy when you need it. See? Then Prabhupada gives a very nice example. He says that even if you are not successful, you will end up taking birth again in a cultured Brahmin family or in a very rich aristocratic family, which will provide facilities and chants for the elevation of Krishna in the Krishna consciousness of that particular soul. That is the unique quality of work in Krishna consciousness. So if you remember in the previous verse, Krishna is saying to Arjun that I will tell you how to stay in Krishna consciousness, how to do activities in Krishna consciousness that will release you. I'll release you from the reactions of that work. And in that particular verse, he used the word bandham prihasyasi. And this is the way he's telling in the next verse how you can relieve yourself from the karma bandhan prihasyasi. He's giving the impetus to the fact that if you do any activity in Krishna consciousness, in this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution. Little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. So in the following verses, Krishna will further start to tell how we can use their intelligence in the service of the Krishna, in service of Krishna, how we can use all our senses. We can use our tongue in chanting holy names of Krishna, glorifying Krishna, reading and speaking loudly Bhagavad Gita as we all are doing right now, and all the Vedic literatures. We can use our eyes in seeing the beautiful form of the deities. We can use our eyes in seeing the beautiful form of the devotees. We can also use our eyes in seeing all the opulences of Krishna and his altar that we do in our society. We can use our ears in hearing the beautiful katha of Krishna, beautiful kirtan of Krishna. It is so pleasing to the heart when this sound vibration enters into the heart in the form of holy names, or in the form of pastimes of the Lord, or in the form of pastimes of the devotees of the Lord. It has the potential to take away all the material miseries and its implication on our existence. We can use our skin we can use our skill sets to work for Krishna. For example, cooking food for Krishna, making dresses for Krishna, making garlands for Krishna, all kinds of activities that we can do for the deities at home or the temple. We can use our working senses, our hands and legs, and going and worshipping Krishna, getting up early in the morning and worshipping Krishna. And that's another beautiful thing that one can do from his senses. So with his mind and intelligence, one can worship Krishna by reading Bhagavad Gita, by reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Then the higher level of being engaged in Krishna consciousness is by elevating others into Krishna consciousness. And that can happen by preaching activities. Our movement is about the preaching movement. It is not a Bhajananandi movement where one goes, sits in Vrindavan and chants his holy names, and that's it. Make sure that he gets liberated. But Prabhupada has the mood, our parampara has this mood to go out and preach Krishna consciousness. When we do that, then automatically we get access to the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, mercy of our acharyas, and that purifies our existence. When I say that purifies our existence, means that purifies our heart. Within our heart, there are anarthas like Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Madh, Moh, Matsarya. All of that gets washed away. No power in the material world exists that can not let holy names of the Lord wash away all the sinful reactions, all of them, and purify the heart of living entity. So this was the sum and substance of this particular verse. And we can see that yesterday we were talking about how Duryodhan, even though Krishna is going to show him a beautiful form, universal form, how Duryodhan was so stubborn that he would not be able to understand this beautiful philosophy that Krishna is giving to Arjuna. That the actions of this world are temporary, and actions of the world of Krishna consciousness are permanent. So this Duryodhan, we understand that he is wicked, and everybody understood that he will not understand what Krishna would like to say. He may not agree to that, but Krishna wanted an opportunity to be given to this Duryodhan. That nobody can point out fingers that Pandavas and Krishna did not do anything, whatever was in their might, to convince Duryodhan to come to a peace with them without having to fight the war. So this Duryodhan, he he thought that he can capture Krishna. When Krishna convinced everybody in the assembly that it's best that everybody come to peace, and when the Shashan started to speak in favor of Krishna, when Dhadrash started to speak in favor of Krishna, that son, this is the time now, let's go and make peace with the Pandavas. He ran out of the assembly and he told the Shashan, Krishna even turned your mind away from me. He said, the plan that we made to capture Krishna, to captivate Krishna, is something that we must execute now. Even as Vishnu seized Bali Maharaj, we will grab Krishna and bind him. So he's giving example of Krishna seizing Bali. Even as Vishnu sees Bali, we will grab Krishna and bind him. And when Pandavas, they'll hear that we have captured Krishna, they will lose their heart. They will lose all their energy, enthusiasm, and they will be like those serpents whose fangs are broken. So let's do this act very swiftly, very quickly. And before that old man, my father, he's referring to his father as that old man, gives everything away to these Pandavas. The Shashan and Sakani, they were constantly with Duryodhan. They were yes men. So they quickly ascertained and stemmed whatever Duryodhan wanted to do. And Karna wanted to run away from there because he said, no, this is not right. This is not the right thing to do. So Duryodhan has no doubts about his plan, and he goes back to the assembly. And he says that we would like to capture Krishna. At that time, Satyaki addressed Dhritarashtra and said, it seems like your foolish son intends to make good his threat to capture Madhav. O leader of men, he and his evil counselors, overpowered by desire and anger, seem to do something exceedingly mean. But they will not be successful, just like children cannot take hold of the blazing fire. So like that, Satyaki explained. And Krishna was laughing and he says, let them try. Maybe this is how the problem will be solved if they try to capture me. Oh, Vidura, don't worry about it. So he kind of calmed Vidura's anxiety, who was pressing upon his feet and saying that, Krishna, this is what he's going to do. What shall we do now? He said, let Duryodhan do what he likes. So Krishna is giving full independence to this Duryodhan. So finally, when they try to make an attempt to capture Krishna, then Krishna started to do something very, very, very different that nobody could expect. And Krishna started to show his divine form. So we had this discussion yesterday that we should complete our class as 8:30, wherein I see that it has now come to 8:30. I will continue with the divine form of Krishna. I was thinking yesterday I will do today, but I think next session we will do it. So what we should do now, we would like to take any question or answers here or any comments. We'll do a quick Q&A session. Yesterday we spoke and today we have spoken. And we would like, if there are any questions, comments, reflections, please feel free. For next 10 minutes, 15 minutes, we can have that discussion. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, my pranam to you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Duryodhan being such an evil-minded person, do you know what was he or who was he in his past life?
So when Gandharvas, at the time when Yudhishthira and his brothers were thrown into exile, that time an incident happened. In that incident, Gandharvas used to come to sport in a lake. And so when Duryodhan realized that Pandavas have camped at a certain place, he said to his father that, Pitashri, I want to go to that place, nearby that place, and I want to have my own party. So a big arrangements were made to host the party of Duryodhan, wherein a complete royalty was going to travel. The intention in the heart of Duryodhan was that he wanted to belittle Pandavas by showing them, look, you are living in a hut, and I will be living in the I will be living in royalty right opposite you. This was his intention. And Dhritarashtra was thinking, oh, he just want to go, my son want to go around the area, that's fine. He did not think like that. So when night came, this Duryodhan, he wanted to sport in that particular lake, but that lake was designated for the Gandharvas. And those Gandharvas, they captured Duryodhan. And Duryodhan tried to fight with the Gandharvas, but he was defeated terribly, including Dusashan. And the news soon reached some of the men from the party of Duryodhan took the news to Yudhishthir Maharaj, who was residing close by. When Yudhishthir Maharaj got the news, he stood up and he ordered both Arjun and Bhim that go and save this Duryodhan. And they said, what are you saying? He is the one who has put us in this condition, and you want us to go and save him? He said, yes. Outside of our family affairs, we are brothers. Inside, we can be fighting. That's not a problem. So Yudhishthira Maharaj had this principle of uniting the family, and therefore both Pandavas have to follow the instructions of Yudhishthira Maharaj. So they went and fought with this Gandharva. They defeated this Gandharva and released Duryodhan from the foundation of Gandharvas. So when he was released like this, Duryodhan went into a massive guilt and enviousness. He was thinking that I came here to destroy them, to give them this enviousness, but look, what am I getting? He started feeling very pity about the whole situation. He said, it's not worth living. I should not live now my life. This is insults to me, such a disrespect to me. I am being the king. I have the army. I have all the power and strength and wealth. And I was captivated. And look who came to release me. These Pandavas who don't even have any weapons, royalty, and no soldiers, nothing. And they released me. He said, I cannot live this life of unworthiness, of disrespect. So he was feeling like this, and he went to a particular area, sat on a stone, and he went into a meditative pose, and he told Dushasan, now that I have decided to kill myself, I'm going to do suicide. You will be the next king, and I'll put you on throne, and you take care of the future of Hastinapur. So he went into this meditation mode, and as soon as he did that, he traveled from planet Earth to the planets of nether regions, which is the lower planetary systems. And he was literally transported as if there's an ethereal existence where his mind and soul left to that ethereal existence of nether regions. In those regions, he was then reminded of that who he was. He was told, oh Duryodhan, you are personified enviousness. You are representation of Kali. You are representation of all the adharma that happens or exists in the entire creation. You are representing all of us, all the demoniac forces which exist in the entire universe, in the entire planetary systems. You are one man who is consolidated, concentrated, and you're representing all that what is against the dharma. How can you be defeated? You are deputed on planet Earth to fulfill the mission of all the demoniac forces, to go and ensure that adharma prevails and anybody who's dharmic must be destroyed. So his confidence was restored. He started looking, and they were blazing fires and they were doing yajna havana for it, that you will be invincible, Duryodhan. We all are with you, and don't worry. There's a war ensued very soon. In that war, we will all come. We will all be there present. All the demoniac forces will be present on your side. What will your opponents do? They cannot do anything to you because we all will be present to support you. When he heard these voices, his confidence was restored, and he was then transported back into this body. Then he at once came to consciousness and said, no, I am going to fight, and I'm not going to give up to these emotions that has just overpowered me. Dusashan, let's go back. And Dusashan became very happy because he was very distressed. He was also part of the same community. So with this pastime, it was revealed that who was Duryodhana. And now we can see why the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, has to personally come down. Of course, that was secondary reason. Primary reason is to give pleasure to his devotees. But now we can understand that Krishna was just not annihilating Duryodhana. Krishna was annihilating the entire. Krishna was annihilating the entire demoniac forces by getting rid of this Duryodhana. And that was the identity of this Duryodhana. He was sort of Kali personified, envy personified, adharma personified. He was representing the entire demoniac forces that existed. So, Puja Mataji, that was the identity of this Duryodhana.
Yes. Hare Krishna, very well explained, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Okay, is there any other question, comment, reflections?
Prabhuji, you were saying that we should read the Bhagavad Gita. What about listening to it rather than reading it? Because not everybody, people can, the older generation probably can't read and that. So does that work the same, or is the reading quite important?
Okay, so when we read, actually reading is also a process of hearing. When we read, we speak to ourselves, inside or outside. When we read loudly, we are hearing our words and it's going back to our system. And when we read quietly, then also we are speaking words in our mind and it goes into our system. So actually, the process is hearing. And if we can hear attentively when we are reading ourselves or we are listening from somewhere else, then the process is potent. There's absolutely no difference between hearing and reading because everything is actually hearing. One is hearing from someone else and other is hearing from ourselves, our own mind, our own words. But there's absolutely no difference. We can hear, but the most important thing is we have to be attentive.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I do like listening to these sessions every day.
Thank you, Mataji. Today your name is not appearing, it's saying iPhone.
It's Meena. Yeah, because I'm on my iPhone. I just find it easy to listen to that than put my laptop on.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you.
Haribol, is there any question, comment, please? Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, there are 2 questions on the chat.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't see that.
It's okay. Thank you.
Does soul has any face? If yes, then how it changes that in each birth? If not, then how come Yudhishthira Maharaj saw Duryodhana in the heaven in the same human form after that? Okay, so the analogy given to us is that we are wearing a coat, like a coat is wore over a body. Similarly, soul is wearing a garment of this body, which means that soul has a form. Soul has a form, and soul has a beautiful form. When Prabhupada says, when you can walk out of this body, when you walk out of this body, you will leave behind the coat, you'll leave behind this body, and you just walk out of this body, and you will meet Krishna face to face. So we have the form. Okay, now if anybody goes to heaven or hell or anywhere else, they are recognizable because Yamraj recognizes them, because they must have a form, then only they can be recognized. And similarly, when Duryodhan was up there in heavens, they are recognized. This is Duryodhan. The body, material body, when gets completely spiritualized, Prabhupada's body was spiritualized. It was like hot iron and become like fire. When you put a iron in fire for long time, it will burn like red fire. It becomes like red fire. Similarly, our material body becomes spiritualized. And these material elements, they are left behind. And the Satchit Anand form of the soul is, it takes the its original form. Many times we read from Srimad Bhagavatam that Vishnu form, if somebody is going to Vaikuntha, Vishnu form is given to them. What is the Vishnu form? Four-arm form. And all of them are looking beautiful. And it is mentioned that all the residents of Vaikuntha, they look like Krishna or Lord Vishnu. All of them. Similar. When Gop Kumar visits the Vaikuntha planets, he felt each one of them is Krishna. What differentiates from Vishnu to other residents? The differentiation is that Vishnu is wearing this Vajanti Mala, or he has this Srivastava mark on his chest. That way we can see, although they all look the same, but they have different identities, slightly inconceivable. So all the living conditioned souls have the form, and when they go to the spiritual world, they have certain forms that they acquire. In the case of Duryodhan, who was in the heaven, heaven is still a material world. It is not a spiritual world. And they must be recognizable, and therefore Duryodhan has recognized them. Now, how it works, we don't know exactly. For example, Prabhupada gives such wonderful analogies. Somebody said that how can there be life on sun? He says very simple. Like in water, most of the fishes, they have watery body. The most part of their body is made of water. They have gills and everything is filled with water. They can live in water, no problem. But human beings can't live in water because they have earthly body. So you can live on earth, and majority of the time you can function on earth. Similarly, on the sun planet, they have got fiery bodies made of fire. So one of the elements is prominent. Of all the elements, 5 elements, one of the elements is prominent. So that element in the sun, if my body is made of fire, what is going to burn me? Nothing. So I can live in that planet easily. If my body is made of water, what is going to drown me? Nothing. I can live in water. So like that, according to the planet, according to their compositions, the bodies are made, and they're recognizable, definitely recognizable. It may not be the exactly same face and facial features, but they're recognizable. This is Duryodhan, this is this is that. Okay, there's a comment. You're inspiring class as usual. Thank you very much. Oh, Lila Purushottam Prabhu, my obeisances to you. You're always encouraging me, and your presence definitely inspires me and reminds me of some senior Vaishnavas who have been always very merciful to me. And your blessings count for me. Okay, there's another question. It was said that those who eat any food without offering to Krishna first incur sin. On that basis, the most of the world are committing a sin just for basically doing an activity needing to survive. Does somebody in other religion who does not know anything about prasadam still incur sin? So in material world is like a prison house. You're already very sinful, and that's why you have been put into this prison house. Like Durga, this is called Durga, and Durga means fort. Fort, in the fort, Mother Durga is taking care of this fort and not letting people go out without getting purified. Why? Because they're all sinful. So it is not a surprise that 99.99999% of the people of this material world are sinful, because that's why they are here. This is a place where sinful people are sent. Saintly people are not sent here, but the opportunity is there for sinful to become saintly. Therefore, whatever they're eating, whatever they're doing, if Krishna is not involved in that mentality, if pleasing Krishna is not involved, then that is sin. It's just not eating, any activity. Sin means gratifying my own senses, and not sin means, or spiritual activity means gratifying senses of Krishna. And yesterday's purport, Srila Prabhupada explained that. So in any other religion, there is not many religion. There is one religion, to love God. And that's how Srila Prabhupada has explained Dharma. The quality of a substance, the sugary quality of the sugar is Dharma of sugar. The salty quality of salt is the Dharma of sugar, salt. Fire and heat is Dharma of fire, light and heat. Similarly, Dharma of the soul is to serve God, Supreme Being. Any religion, I do not want to use word religion right now, any Dharma. So when the moment you say Dharma, it all becomes one. So all the material world religions, so-called religions based on body and birth, if they serve the purpose of the eternal Dharma, which is to serve God, then that's not a sinful activity. Now, going into details, if they don't serve food to Krishna or to any form of the God or to anybody, and they don't feel indebted to the Almighty, then they're incurring sin. If they feel indebted, not knowing that God is Krishna, but they feel indebted to a higher power, they feel indebted that this Mother Nature is giving, so then that is okay. But direct benefit is by worshipping the personal form of the Lord. He's saying, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, Yome Bhaktya Prekshiti. You give me whatever you want, but with love you give me. Even if a leaf you give me. He's not wanting the food. He's not after the tasty pizzas and, Ekadashi feasts and all kinds of juices. No, he's after the love behind it. Krishna doesn't want our food. Prabhupada says that he's just looking for reciprocation, love. If that is given, whoever, in whatever religion one is, and that is okay. That's no sinful activities there. So that's the answer to that. I hope I have answered. If there is further discussion you need, please, you can write back or speak up. Okay. Then there's a comment. It says, there are organisms living in hot springs. And Srila Prabhupada has mentioned in various of his books that scientists have found fire bacteria, and they live in the fire. So all kinds of bodies are there who can survive in all kinds of material circumstances. I was just wondering, yesterday it was so cold, not like wintry cold, but it was slightly cold in the night. And I was seeing these birds, they're flying around, they're having fun. And, Prakriti, nature has provided that kind of a body to them. They have feathers and they're all covered. They don't feel that cold. They enjoy that. Whereas human beings, they'll feel that cold. And vice versa, in many situations, they will suffer and human being will enjoy. It's about the bodies. There's a comment, wonderful session, very thought-provoking. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Bharti Mataji, for that comment. So with that, yes, is there
Prabhuji,
any...
Prabhuji, can I ask one question? If we are born in the Hindu Dharma, so if we need to come back, will we come back in the Hindu Dharma, or do we go into the different Dharma?
Okay. Now, what are we trying to do? That we are trying to predict the future for us. If we come back in what Dharma, etc. So that's a very complex process of karma and reactions of karma. One thing can be very sure, that if we perform devotional service, then we are not supposed to coming back. We can go back out of this material designations of the body and dharma. So the aspiration of devotee is actually to go back to Godhead, to Krishna himself. Tattva na punarjanma. The one who understands Krishna, he will not take punarjanma. He will not reincarnate. So having said that, if Krishna consciousness is not accomplished, opportunity will be given, as Srila Prabhupada was mentioning in the purport, to come back to a family of devotees. A family of devotees can be from any caste, creed, and that does not matter. Hindu, Prabhupada has explained that word Hindu is not mentioned in our scriptures, unfortunately. The word Hindu has come from Arabic rulers who came to India, and they started saying the name of the people who are living by river Sindhu as Kindu, because they could not pronounce Sa. They would pronounce Sindhu as Kindu. And in due course of time, like Kindu became Hindu. The actual word in the scriptures specified for all those who are following Vedic literature is Sanatan Dharma. Sanatan Dharma, eternal religion. So there's no time to it. It's eternal. And eternal dharma is serving Krishna. Now, your question that will you come back to a Hindu family? We don't know. If you have elevated yourself so much, you can come to advanced Vaishnava's family, advanced Vaishnav family. You can come in a very wealthy aristocratic family, and then you can continue your Krishna consciousness. Wherever your Krishna consciousness needs next level of advancement, that's where you will be sent if we process this Krishna consciousness, if we follow process of Krishna consciousness, but we fail to become 100% pure, then this situation arises. I hope that answers.
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, with this, we'll now close our today's session. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu bhayevcha patithanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaः. Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Rama
Rama,
Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hari Bol, Prabhuji. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Vivo,
Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Vivo, Haribol.
Hare Krishna. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Leela Purushottam Prabhu ki jai, Haribol.
Thank you very much for wonderful class. Hare
Thank you, Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna.